My son accidentally opened the jar of Lucky Stars on my husband's bookshelf. I picked up one star to fold it back, but on the back I found a line of delicate handwriting. The kiss on that midsummer night at 18, witnessed only by the moonlight and insects, can never see the light of day again. July 23, 2011. 2011 was the second year my husband and I were together. With trembling hands, I squatted down and opened another Lucky Star. The best back-to-school gift at 19 was someone skipping class to keep me company. October 9, 2012. During the 2012 National Day holiday, my husband told me something had happened at home, and he delayed his return to school by 5 days. The most secret joy at 27 was someone leaving behind the woman in the delivery room to accompany me. October 15, 2020. That day was my son's birthday. I went through a failed attempt at natural labor and then a C-section, suffering twice to bring him into the world. Afterward, I hemorrhaged and was rushed straight into intensive care. So, while my husband claimed he couldn't get away from work, he was actually with the owner of these Lucky Stars. Chapter 1. I stared at the jar of Lucky Stars on my husband's bookshelf, my vision blurred with tears. This jar of Lucky Stars was the gift he gave to me and our son after we were discharged from the hospital. He said he had heard that one could make a wish with 100 Lucky Stars, and he wished for good health for me and our son. Back then, I treasured it so much, afraid it might get damaged, that I placed it carefully on his bookshelf. Every time I tidied his study, I would gently wipe each of those stars, but it turns out, they were evidence of his cheating. From 2011 to 2020, through all of our youth, the best years of our lives, and the owner of that handwriting, I was not unfamiliar with her. In the autumn of 2014, Susie suddenly fell seriously ill at university, losing her hearing in both ears. My husband Ariel was studying abroad as an exchange student and couldn't return. With red eyes, he begged me to go to Susie's city and take care of her. I took half a month off work, and in that unfamiliar city, I stayed by Susie's side, fragile, bad-tempered, and terrified. And what did Ariel say at the time? Even though Susie and I once jokingly called each other siblings in junior high, you know my parents only had one son. I always envied others who had siblings. I treat Susie like a real sister. Because of that one phrase, real sister, I looked after her tirelessly for half a month. In the mornings when Susie wouldn't get up, I went out to buy her favorite buns and savory tofu pudding, and watched until she finished eating. When she had to go into the hyperbaric oxygen chamber, I escorted her there and waited outside until she was done. When she received 4 drips and would easily fall asleep, I forced my eyes open, watching through bag after bag of medicine until the infusion was finished. In the afternoons, when Susie wanted to sneak out for a walk, afraid something might happen since she couldn't hear, I always made sure to keep her on the inside of the road. When she was in a good mood, she would softly type a word to me in the chat app. Sister. She only called me sister. She said she liked me. The way she looked at me was full of dependence and confusion. She was about to step into society, yet struck by such a heavy blow, lost, helpless. At first, I did it out of Ariel's request, but later, I genuinely pitied her, truly treating her like my own younger sister. She had to take so many bitter medicines, and after each dose, she would frown in silence. Gradually, I always kept a few white rabbit milk candies in my bag or pockets. After she took her medicine, I would secretly slip one into her hand, and like a cat stealing fish, she would tear the wrapper and stuff the candy into her mouth. After eating the candy, her lips turned sweet. Sister, Susie likes you the most. I would tease her in the chat, more important than your brother? She only ever called Ariel brother. At that time, she would look at me with eyes full of trust, gripping my hand and nodding heavily. Even later, when her hearing recovered, she never gave up the habit of acting spoiled with me. At dusk, she would complain in a soft tone that the noodle shop with her favorite beef tendon noodles wasn't open. When passing by shops, she would casually buy me a trinket too. And when I put so much effort into taking care of her, or when I bought things I thought she would like and mailed them to her, what was she really thinking? Was she secretly laughing at me together with Ariel? Chapter 2. I restored the box of Lucky Stars, full of irony, and put it back. With a hairpin, I unlocked the drawer of Ariel's desk. Just as I expected, there were piles of letters. I couldn't help but let out a mocking laugh. This was what Ariel and Susie loved to do back in high school. The bike ride between their schools was less than half an hour. Yet they still poured their affections into letter after letter. Back then, I was foolish, even though Ariel and I already had a tacit understanding. When he asked me to send letters to his sister, since he lived in the dorms and couldn't go out, I delivered them to the post office one by one for him. My hands trembling, I pulled out a sheet of letter paper. The handwriting was still familiar. The date at the end was April 23, 2009. A still young Susie, pretending to be melancholic, wrote, "I think no relationship is more reliable than being siblings. I don't want to be your first love, nor your lover. Let's be brother and sister." Clearly, the two of them already had a bond of understanding, and yet I never knew. Panicking, I pulled out another letter, signed March 11, 2010. At that time, Ariel's mother had already met me when she brought him food. Susie's handwriting was flamboyant and domineering. "Why does your mom still dislike me for being so skinny and short?" "What do you mean? Your mom would definitely be satisfied if she saw me. Have you forgotten we agreed to be siblings? You've gotten bold, daring to joke like that with your sister." So, behind my back, my mother-in-law had once despised me, and the things I never knew, Susie knew clearly, and Ariel, naturally, compared me with Susie, always finding me lacking. As I read through stack after stack of letters, the blazing sun was covered by layers of dust-colored clouds, spreading across the sky like the gloomy weight pressing down on my heart. At the bottom of the pile, I found a thick stack of purchase receipts, without exception, all for Barbie dolls. Hundreds, thousands. The pile of receipts was so thick, my hands trembling. I tried to unlock my phone, but tears kept falling onto the screen, making it fail each time. I wiped the phone messily on my clothes again and again, finally unlocking it, and opened Susie's background photo, stacked together, a whole collection of Barbie dolls. What was even more ironic was that I had once liked that background photo, a symbol of my husband's constant devotion to her, and I had ignorantly clicked like. Last year, for Susie's birthday, I even gifted her a Barbie doll. And what did Ariel say back then? He said she already had many Barbies and had probably collected that model. So it turns out, it was him, my husband, who had been collecting them for her all along. I carefully examined those receipts. March 2011, July 2011, November 2011. In 2011 alone, Ariel spent 5,000 yuan on Barbie dolls for Susie. At that time, I spent half a year handing out flyers just to save money for a trip with him. The purchase record stretched from 2011 all the way up to recently. The latest one was this May. That very month, I was debating over enrolling our son in an English class that cost 30,000 yuan, hesitating again and again because of the high fee. Meanwhile, Ariel bought Susie 2 more sets of Barbie dolls. He was a diamond-level VIP at a toy store in our city. Yet since our son was born, he had never bought him even a single toy. All of his devotion and indulgence, he gave to his so-called sister. Chapter 3. Once Pandora's box was opened, many things hidden in the dark all came spilling out. Even in 2014, when I was taking care of Susie and was closest to her, Ariel came back from abroad and went straight to Susie's city, where he stayed with her for 5 days. I looked at the photo album Ariel had placed at the very bottom of the drawer. The background was Happy Valley, and Ariel and Susie were smiling sweetly. The date noted on the back was my birthday. That day, Susie had called me, acting spoiled, saying she wanted the first bite of my cake. I ordered a local cake through delivery and had it sent to her dorm. At the time, I had wondered why that girl hadn't playfully thanked me. Now I know, because Susie was at Happy Valley with Ariel, and she never received my cake at all. And Ariel, even more ridiculous, had sent me a guilty message, saying he couldn't come back to be with me, but he would make it up to me with another birthday in the future, when in reality, they were in the same city, holding hands, cheeks pressed together, enjoying the amusement park, even going so far as to make up excuses together to deceive me. Well, so this is my husband, in whom I placed all my trust, and the so-called sister I cherished the most. I photographed everything as evidence, restored it all back to its original place, then took my son to my mother's house. After that, I sat on the couch and went through both Susie's and Ariel's online spaces. In this age where everyone uses moments, those two stubbornly clung to using their spaces. I had even once joked at a dinner party that they were both such old-fashioned siblings. But as it turns out, those spaces were their stage for flaunting love. An occasional hair tie shown, an occasional photo of the same cake. Because I hadn't used space in years, I remained completely ignorant of it all. Now the only thing I wonder is this: since they understood each other so well, since they loved each other so much, why drag me into it at all? I, Rita, am not the kind of woman who clings and refuses to let go. And at the beginning, it was Ariel who pursued me earnestly. From chasing me, to confirming our relationship, to proposing, to marrying me, every step he took with sincerity and devotion. Now looking back, it feels like swallowing a fly, unable to spit it out, unable to digest it. How dare they toy with me like this? When Ariel came home that night, just like always, his left hand held my favorite grilled cupcakes, and his right hand my favorite lavender. Was the baby misbehaving at home today? He sent me a video saying you looked stern as you dropped him off at his grandma's. As with every day after work, he cared about my mood, tried to create surprises for me, but now I knew. Things could never be the same again. Perhaps it had all been a scam from the beginning. The cake I had been most proud of was crawling with maggots, beautiful and perfect on the outside, already rotten within. Chapter 4. Seeing me staring blankly at him, Ariel carefully set down the things in his hands, went to the bathroom to wash, then cautiously wrapped his arms around me from behind. Baby, are you upset? With my back still to him, I tried to keep my voice as usual. Why hasn't your sister come over to play lately? I almost miss her. You know how she is, always acting on a whim. Just the other day she said she wanted to ride horses on the prairie. By now, she's probably already in Xinjiang. I spoke as if casually. Speaking of which, the bond between you siblings is really the same as ever. As strong as it was 10 years ago. Ariel's arms stiffened around me. Susie's closer to you than to me now. She's always been afraid of being alone since childhood. Did you know her very early on? Ariel hesitated a little before answering. Not that early. We were classmates in junior high. We got close in 9th grade. I turned around, not missing a single flicker of expression on his face. How strange. 9th grade is the age when feelings first awaken. And you too, instead of secretly liking each other as boy and girl, jumped straight to becoming siblings forever? Ariel's expression grew a little distant, as if remembering some youthful past, a trace of nostalgia in his eyes. Fate between people differs. Meeting someone is already destiny. If I hadn't seen those stars and letters, perhaps I might have believed him. I looked straight into his eyes. Today I took our son to the toy store. They were running a promotion. Sign up for membership and get one free. I casually added your phone number. And the clerk said you're a diamond member? Ariel scratched the back of his head, panic flashing in his eyes, stammering for a long time before finding words. You know Susie, afraid her mom will find out she overspends. Whenever there's a big purchase, she pins it on us. I suddenly understood. No wonder the clerk said someone bought loads of Barbie dolls under your number. I almost thought you had a secret daughter out there. Beads of sweat seeped from Ariel's hairline. What are you imagining? It's not even summer yet. Why is it so hot? I'll take a shower first and talk to you later. Ariel thought his excuse flawless. But after more than 10 years together, I knew every micro-expression, every move of his, too well. Scratching the back of his head meant lying. Fleeing in haste meant guilt. It wasn't past tense. It was present continuous. A sibling bond that outlasted even our dating and marriage. I saw his phone casually thrown on the desk. Unlocking it, I opened Susie's chat window. Just as I thought, notifications muted. Messages cleared. I bluntly sent a message. I miss you. Almost instantly, Susie replied, how much do you miss me? You promised while I was traveling you wouldn't touch her. If I find out you lied, just wait. Damn it. I should have claimed you as mine from the start. Then I wouldn't be hiding like a mistress now. I was the one who came first. Testing further. I sent, Rita knows about us. On the other side, the typing indicator flashed on and off many times before finally sending just 3 exclamation marks. What did she say? She must hate me to death. What are you going to do? Will she call me? What should I do? Reading her familiar tone, I could even picture her flustered look. But this time, I felt no affection or indulgence. They betrayed sincerity. They treated others as nothing but part of their play. They both deserved damnation. You always say people only know to cherish once they've lost something. Susie, let's walk the circle we strayed from, and finish it right this time. After sending, I coldly watched the indicator flash again and again, text being typed then deleted, until at last a single reply came through. What did Rita say? Did she curse me? Asking first about my feelings, should I be moved by her supposed concern, or grieve over this twisted relationship? Chapter 5. I didn't delete the messages, letting Susie send long strings of texts, even full-blown essays. I neither read them nor replied. Ariel came out of the bathroom wrapped in a bathrobe, remembering Susie's messages just now. I leaned toward his ear. Testing, I bought a new set, shall we try it tonight? Ariel hastily tightened the robe's belt. Baby, I've been a little tired these past 2 days. Maybe another time? I watched him pretend to rub his temples, then picked up the spare bathrobe and turned into the bathroom. I believed the time I spent showering would be enough for Ariel to read through the chat history. From the youth of 18 to now in my 30s, I have been with Ariel for over a decade. I simply couldn't imagine us bearing it all, arguing face to face. So be it. By the time I finished showering, the three of us would have laid all the cards on the table. But I had only just lathered shampoo into my hair when Ariel pounded desperately on the door. Baby, you hear me? Baby? This is a misunderstanding. Silently, I massaged the foam into my hair and rinsed it away bit by bit. Ariel seemed to be saying a great many things outside the door, but I thought perhaps Susie's deafness in 2014 had passed on to me. Otherwise, why couldn't I hear anything? No knocking, no Ariel's words, nothing at all, holding up all my emotions through the day. At last, under the cover of the shower spray, the flood of tears burst out. What did Ariel take me for? What did Susie take me for? In 2022, when the pandemic broke out, she was burning with fever in the neighboring city. With no medicine, Ariel was away on business abroad. I left my child crying bitterly at my mother's house and drove through the night to bring her medicine. Her tearful eyes, seen through the screen of a video call while she stood behind a door, are still vivid in my mind. In that moment, was she crying over my kindness toward her? Or was it guilt for betraying me? And damn Ariel, knowing I was driving through the night to deliver the medicine, called me over and over. Was he worried about me? Or worried whether Susie's fever medicine had arrived on time? Who could really say? As though I had to cry out every last tear of this life. At last I finished bathing, put on my robe, and stepped out. Ariel was crouched at the bathroom door, lifting his head slightly to look at me, his eyes bloodshot and filled with unease. The scene overlapped strangely with that boy in sophomore year, crouched on the school track, nervously asking if we could go to the same college in the future. For a moment, I couldn't even tell which Ariel had been more sincere. Or was it that neither had been pure, neither truly sincere? I picked up the hairdryer. Ariel, just like every other night, carefully took it from me and began drying my hair. In a daze, I felt hot drops falling onto my face. Ariel clumsily tried to wipe them with the back of his hand, but when he couldn't, he finally switched off the dryer and crouched on the floor, crying. I stood, turned the dryer back on, dried my own hair, then went to the bathroom, scooping up water in my hands. I carefully washed off the place where Ariel's tears had just fallen. I felt it was dirty. Chapter 6. Ariel followed closely behind me, step by step. Baby, I can explain. Explain? Ariel, was it fun, treating me like a fool and playing me in circles? Ariel's voice was thick with a nasal tone and sobs. I'm sorry. We never meant to hurt you. We, after more than 10 years together. In the end, Ariel and Susie were the ones on the same side. I finally asked the question that had been haunting my heart. You two liked each other, knew each other since junior high. Why not just be together openly? Why sneak around? Is it that only an affair can make you happy? Or is it that you're playing some twisted game of betrayal, and I just happened to be the unlucky pawn you chose? Ariel suddenly stood up and pulled me into his arms. No, baby. No. I broke free of his embrace. Then what is it? Tell me. Explain to me, why has the past decade been so absurd? In our second year together, you kissed her. Tell me, Ariel, what did you want out of it? When I nearly died giving birth, struggling through both failed labor and a C-section. You abandoned me and our son in the delivery room because of her. Ariel, don't you think you two are disgusting? Ariel's expression shifted from fear to ugly defensiveness. Rita, I admit Susie and I crossed the line, but that doesn't give you the right to slander her. Ha, even now, he dared to turn the blame back on me? I looked into Ariel's seemingly sincere eyes, grabbed his arm, and dragged him into the study. With a sudden motion, I smashed the jar of Lucky Stars onto the floor. He tried to stop me, but it was too late. He could only watch as the stars scattered everywhere. You're angry, but why take it out on these things? Going crazy? Crazy? I randomly picked up a star from the floor, unfolded it, and read the words inside aloud. On the mountain peak, my brother watches the sunrise, and I watch my brother, my little joy that belongs only to me. August 23, 2015. Ariel stared at the handwriting in disbelief. Susie said she folded them to pray for blessings for you and our son. So all this time, it was her saving mementos over the years. I never even knew. I never once opened them. His eyes filled with pity and regret for having overlooked Susie's tender little feelings. A roaring buzz filled my ears, and I couldn't stop myself from shattering the absurdity. I screamed sharply in 2015 when I was being harassed by that scumbag boss during my internship. I cried and called you. You told me you were on a business trip. Turns out you were climbing Mount Tai with her to watch the sunrise? My sharp words left Ariel dazed. After a long pause, he sighed. I really was on a business trip. Susie just happened to be there traveling, so I accompanied her up the mountain. I was only keeping her company. I never thought she. I couldn't contain the fury inside me. I stomped down on the mocking little stars littering the floor, crushing them one by one, watching them shrivel and break apart, until I collapsed weakly into the chair. When had I fallen so low, reduced to battling with a handful of paper stars? Ariel, distressed, bent down to pick up the scattered stars. If you're angry, take it out on me. These stars are what Susie saved up for so many years. How could you trample on such true feelings? I grabbed the keyboard from his desk and smashed it hard against his head. Is it me trampling on her so-called feelings? Or you two trampling on mine? I didn't stop until blood seeped from Ariel's head. Only then did I collapse and fling the keyboard to the ground. Ariel, for over 10 years, no matter what schemes you and Susie harbored, I gave you both everything, without reservation, without owing either of you a thing. If you have even a shred of conscience left, leave with nothing, and let's end this with dignity. Ariel covered his bleeding head, closed his eyes briefly, then said, you gave more than 10 years, but do you think we gave nothing? Because of you. Do you know how much grievance Susie has endured? You don't know anything. You have the name. You have the son, but Susie has nothing. With that, he gave me one last deep look, then turned and slammed the door behind him. I stared at his departing figure, dazed for a long time. From the moment I discovered the truth until now, I had been shocked, evasive, ashamed and furious, unable to control my emotions. Only when I saw him leave so decisively did my feelings finally hit solid ground. I began to doubt every moment I had spent with Ariel and Susie together. I no longer knew, when they faced me, were they themselves? Or was it a rehearsed mask? And was I nothing more than a piece in their little love game? I wasn't just disappointed in them, I was hopelessly disappointed in myself. Maybe I was never worthy of anyone's true sincerity. I opened the safe, took out all the valuables, gathered everything belonging to me and my son, and called a moving company. Before leaving, I took off the ring I had worn for more than a decade. It was the ring Ariel made for me at 18, polished out of a dime coin. When the boy gave it to me, his ears had flushed red. This ring may not be worth money, but it carries all my love. I wore it for over 10 years, never taking it off, not even after marriage. Now, looking back at that so-called all, perhaps Ariel's grading scale went up to 100. An incomplete love, I don't want it anymore. Chapter 7. Susie sent me countless messages. I didn't open them, I just blocked her. Not giving up, she came straight to my office. At the cafe downstairs, she clasped her left hand tightly around her right wrist, her legs under the table trembling uncontrollably. That was her old habit whenever she was nervous. Seeing me watching her with scrutiny, she picked up the coffee in front of her, but her shaking hand tipped it, spilling it onto her white dress. She didn't even look at the stain. Sister Rita, I never wanted to steal Brother Ariel away from you. I nodded, watching her spin her story. She covered her face, letting tears leak out from between her fingers. Do you understand the saying after you've seen the vast sea? No water can compare? I thought my bond with Ariel was just a youthful flutter, but after all these years, no one else has ever entered my heart. The more I watched, the more disgusted I felt. I picked up the coffee in front of me and threw the whole cup over her. Haven't you acted out this play long enough? Susie clumsily wiped coffee from her face. Sister Rita, after all these years of feelings between us, must it really come to this? All those sisters, all that talk of feelings, yet in everything she had done to me, when had there ever been a shred of sincerity? Your filthy feelings, why don't you save them for your so-called lover brother? Susie's eyes turned bright red with suppressed tears, looking at me as though I had wronged her. I picked up the coffee in front of her and threw that at her too. Put away your pitiful act. I'm not buying it. 2 cups of coffee later, some of her pretentious coquette disguise was finally washed away. Rita, to tell you the truth, if I hadn't let Ariel go back then, you would never have existed in this picture. You were the sister who gave me white rabbit milk candies when I was choking down bitter medicine. Otherwise, do you think I could have just sat back and watched Ariel marry you and have a child with you? Soaked in coffee, her eyes swollen red from crying, Susie still looked at me with grievance and endurance. So what you mean is, I should thank you for your so-called generosity. For tolerating me, even when I was hemorrhaging giving birth, you still had to lure away my husband? Susie gave a sorrowful laugh. I endured so much, gave up so much. It was only when missing him became unbearable that I sought him out those few times. If you can't even tolerate that, why can't you try to think of me? Do you know what it feels like to watch the man you love walk hand in hand with someone else? I didn't know. I only knew Susie was sick, and seriously so. So what, you mean I ended up with my husband only because you were so magnanimous? And now I should sympathize with you? Did a donkey kick your brain? Seeing my cold expression, Susie grabbed her bag. If my endurance means nothing to you, then from now on, I'll make sure you see who Brother Ariel truly chooses between you and me. From now on, we'll each rely on our own ability. Susie marched off with bravado, but I sat there unmoving for a long while. What kind of twisted logic was that? She intruded on my marriage, yet claimed that by not making Ariel divorce me, she had shown me affection? If that's what she called affection, then I truly wish we had never met. Chapter 8. After that declaration of war, Susie began flaunting her love online in high profile. The evidence I had gathered of Ariel's cheating, she treated it as proof of their so-called enduring love, posting it all over short video platforms. Susie even pinned a video at the top, a transition between 2 images. The first, a yellow piece of letter paper. In the future I'll buy Susie many Barbie dolls, so she'll never envy anyone else. The second, a pile of Barbie dolls stacked together. Her caption read, "A promise from youth. Still valid today." That video got over 1 million likes, with countless comments below calling it a fairy tale romance. Cute girls tagged their boyfriends. Baby, you'll treat me like this one day too, right? For a while, influencer accounts jumped on the bandwagon, shouting that they believed in love again. Susie slyly updated another post. I'm confident, no matter when, my brother's first choice will always be me. I took screenshots of everything as evidence, consulting a lawyer about which ones might help me fight for custody of my son and in property division. While Susie's online popularity was climbing, I contacted Ariel to meet me at the Civil Affairs Bureau to file for divorce. You leave with nothing. The house, the car, the savings, the son, they're all mine. Ariel looked at me in disbelief. Rita, how did you become this calculating, this materialistic? This is the difference between you and Susie. Susie still only cares about Barbie dolls even now. And you? All you talk about is the school district house for our son, how to support our parents' retirement, even bringing up career planning with me. Clenching my fists, I stared at his incessant rambling, unable to believe that the man I had entangled myself with for over 10 years had turned into something this pathetic. But now, nothing mattered more than making sure he left with nothing. With my son and the money in hand, I would have plenty of ways to deal with him and Susie. Ariel, I'll give you just 1 day to think. If you don't agree, I swear I'll make sure you and Susie are utterly ruined. Ariel said Susie only cared about the Barbie dolls from their youth. For the sake of a few pathetic dolls. She had been willing to play mistress for all these years, and even proudly flaunted online for validation. How starved for love must Susie be, to try and steal affection and friendship from her rival? And how insecure must she be, to rush to prove such a sickening love? For me, these empty illusions meant nothing, only cold, hard money could give me peace of mind. And this was what Ariel owed me. Chapter 9. Ariel agreed to the divorce. When we walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Susie sat in the passenger seat. Rolling down the window, Rita, from now on, we owe you nothing. Clutching the divorce certificate. I said nothing. Whether they owed me or not, that wasn't for them to decide. That night, I released the evidence I had long prepared online. From discovering my husband's affair, to gathering proof, to Susie flaunting her love online during the marriage, I exposed it all. I even paid a hefty fee to have it boosted on the platform. I never once mentioned Susie's name, but sharp-eyed netizens noticed that the evidence of betrayal overlapped perfectly with Susie's previously posted romantic videos. Someone commented under my video, "Sis, that so-called fairy tale love, was it actually your husband and his mistress?" I replied honestly, ex-husband. That one stone stirred up 1,000 waves. Netizens couldn't believe it, gossiping furiously. Girl, is this even human language? The true love I shipped was an affair? Sis, you're too slow. Over 10 years. 10 damn years. Say no more. My heart aches for you. I'll go curse out those shameless scumbags right now. Enthusiastic netizens jumped from my video to Susie's account. The same handwriting, the overlapping storylines, and my single word, ex-husband. Those who had once been moved by their fairy tale romance now felt like they had bitten into a worm-ridden apple. Utterly revolted. Filthy homewrecker. You flaunted your love before the divorce papers were even signed? Couldn't wait to hand over the evidence yourself? Trash man. Trash woman, you destroyed a good woman's life. A mistress doesn't deserve to talk about love. Clickbait marketing accounts quickly joined in, demanding, so, was it true love, or a decade-long sordid affair? A mistress enduring for over 10 years to climb into the wife's place, terrifying to think about. Ariel, furious, demanded that I delete everything online. He said if our mutual friends or their bosses saw it, his future would be ruined. He even begged me, for the sake of our son, to give him some dignity. I sneered, combining Ariel's endless Barbie doll orders with my own penny-pinching sacrifices, and made another video, 5 minutes long. His diamond membership card at the toy store. The fact that since our son's birth, he had never bought him a single toy. I put it all out in public. I couldn't just walk away clean, not after pouring my heart out for over a decade. A decade of betrayal, lies, and being trampled on. Wounds that couldn't heal, not unless they hurt more than I did. Not unless they paid the price. Otherwise, I would never breathe free again. Seeing my stance unshakable, Susie went live. On camera, she covered her face, tears dripping from her fingers. After a long silence, she sobbed and began her story. I met Ariel in junior high. We promised to be together after the college entrance exams. But Rita pursued him fiercely in high school. Her parents had divorced. She was mildly depressed, and Ariel had to comfort her, saying if they got into the same college, they'd be together. I failed my exams, but Ariel and Rita got into the same university while I repeated a year. I was angry about them being together, so I dated another boy out of spite. I never thought it would give Rita the chance to take my place, but netizens in the live stream weren't having it. Just answer, was Ariel with Rita first? And were you the one who came between them? What a pure story. Ariel's trash too. A girl who dates someone out of spite will one day spite you with cheating. No matter how you spin it, Ariel and Rita were together first. You're the mistress. Someone claiming to know the past shot back in the chat. Sis, what nonsense are you spouting? Ariel and Rita's romance was famous back then. When Rita had appendicitis at midnight, Ariel carried her on his back to catch a cab. Rita once mentioned craving tofu pudding from the West Market. Ariel spent 2 hours every morning getting it for her. And you call yourself true love? Ugly people make the most trouble. Reading the comments recalling those memories, Susie instantly broke down. No, Ariel loved me from beginning to end. If I hadn't let Rita have him, I would have been the one to marry him. Get lost. You think that scumbag is some prize? Letting her? What a joke. Did you crawl out of some trashy romance novel? Brain dead clown. Poor Rita. Caught between the two most pathetic people alive. The live stream turned into chaos. Nothing like what Susie expected. Instead of sympathy, everyone condemned her and Ariel. Shamed and overwhelmed, Susie ended the stream abruptly. Chapter 10. When I saw Susie being ridiculed by the entire internet, I seized the moment and sent Ariel's cheating scandal, already all over social media, to his boss. All these years, Ariel had no ambition, satisfied to treat a stable job as early retirement. When I nearly died giving birth, he was still sneaking around with Susie, and he thought he deserved a peaceful life? Within 2 days, Ariel was reassigned to a poverty-stricken rural area. I searched the location on the map, 34 hours away by car. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I wondered whether Susie, with all her unbreakable love, would follow him there. But that was no longer my concern. I poured myself fully into work in raising my son, eventually being promoted to the second-in-command of my company. The house and car I had bought with Ariel, I sold them all. With the money, I bought a spacious flat for me and my son. I no longer had to worry about Ariel's parents' medical checkups, nor pity his weak stomach, nor fuss over making him soup every day. I began taking my son out into nature, joining all sorts of fun parent-child activities. In my spare time, I watched dramas and enjoyed good food. Life became comfortable, sweet, and full. Occasionally, mutual friends would update me about Ariel and Susie. After Ariel's job transfer, Susie quit her own job to follow him to the countryside. But the conditions were harsh, and Susie was as spoiled and fussy as ever. The work was grueling. Without me to cook, clean, or do laundry, Ariel had to handle everything himself and was constantly exhausted. Faced with Susie's endless whining, he grew impatient, even blaming her for flaunting their relationship online and giving me all the leverage. Susie hadn't expected that without me in the way, Ariel would actually be even more impatient with her. The two often quarreled violently. At their worst, they even came to blows. I didn't care much about their lives. Hearing now and then that they were miserable was enough for me to feel at ease. I thought I would never cross paths with them again until one day, when I went to pick up my son from kindergarten. The new teacher's face flushed as she said, "Quinn rushed over calling Daddy. I thought you had asked Quinn's father to pick him up." My mind went blank. I grabbed my phone, ready to call the police. Then from behind me came my son's loud voice, "Mom." My heart finally settled. "Mom, Dad took me to eat pizza, and he bought me fried chicken and burgers. I even drank my favorite cola." "Mom, I'm so happy." My son threw himself into my arms, bubbling with joy. I held him close and firmly instructed the teachers, "If anyone else comes to pick Quinn up, please call me first for confirmation." Ariel leaned down, whispering into Quinn's little hand, "So, the other person Mommy talks about, that's Daddy." Huh? I couldn't even bother to look at Ariel's fake, cutesy face. After confirming the teachers understood my instructions, I took my son and walked out of the kindergarten. Ariel followed step by step behind me. I walked straight to the parking lot, strapped my son into his safety seat, and let my mother, waiting in the car to help me pick him up, drive off with him. Then I turned to Ariel. "What exactly do you want?" "Custody belongs to me. You have no right to take our son without my permission." Chapter 11. Ariel grabbed my arm. "Rita, I was wrong. Let's live well together as a family of 3. I'll never hurt you again. Please. For our son. Give me another chance." I flung his hand away. "What kind of dream are you having? We're divorced. Who's a family of 3 with you? With a cheating repeat offender like you? I'm afraid my son will pick up your habits and become garbage too. The best solution is that we never see each other again." Ariel's eyes turned bloodshot. "Rita, think about our more than 10 years together. How can you bear to let it go? Back then we promised." I cut him off before he could finish. "Stop. Don't mention those filthy memories. Every word makes me want to vomit." Just then, Susie rushed over, eyes red. "Ariel! Rita! How shameless can you both be? Rita, I'm Ariel's girlfriend now. What right do you have to be with him?" I let out a cold laugh. "Well, what can I do if your boyfriend acts like a dog, constantly wagging his tail at me and my son?" If you can't keep your own dog in check, who's to blame but you? Susie glared at Ariel. I went through so much to pull strings and get you transferred back here. And this is how you repay me? Ariel shoved her hard. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have lost my wife and son. You call yourself some kind of self-sacrificing woman? You've wasted years doing nothing but dragging me down. Unwilling to back down, Susie snatched up her handbag and swung it at Ariel. I couldn't help but clap my hands. So this was the great love story. Netizens hadn't forgotten them either. When I uploaded the video of their scuffle, the comments poured in. This is like watching a revenge novel come true, seeing the scumbag man and shameless woman beat each other up. Honestly, if the sister had never gotten with that scumbag in the first place, these two beasts might not have dragged it out so long. So much for unforgettable old love. It's just selfish possessiveness. When they're really together, two selfish people can't live in peace either. Ariel and Susie didn't see the online storm, but I watched eagerly, as if their fight were my entertainment. Ariel wrested the handbag from Susie and hurled it into the moat. Susie's eyes went scarlet. I wasted years of my life on you. I lost my career, my reputation, and now you want to just walk away and start fresh? Dream on. She grabbed a brick from the ground and smashed it against Ariel's head. The blow was so hard Ariel collapsed instantly, clutching his head and cursing, "You're insane. Susie, you're nothing but a lunatic. If you're starving for love, go find your mother. Stop clinging to me like a parasite." Something in his words seemed to snap inside Susie. Frozen for a second with the brick in her hand, she suddenly brought it down again and again on Ariel's skull. Her posture was exactly the same as mine, back when I smashed him with the keyboard. The only difference was that bricks were far deadlier than keyboards. Watching Susie spiral into madness, I calmly dialed the police. Ariel was rushed to the hospital, but he didn't survive. Susie was arrested on the spot. As a witness, I cooperated with the investigation. In the end, Susie was sentenced to death for intentional homicide, before being led away in shackles. Susie looked at me in defeat. Are you satisfied now? Satisfied? I was more than satisfied. Those who betrayed true love deserve to die.